And the first item on the agenda is a presentation and a submission of the draft GreenNR Sustainability Plan. We have David Kooris of the Regional Plan Association who's with us, but first, Mr. City Manager, I know you want to say a couple of words by way of introduction.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, members of Council, I'd like to, I don't want to speak too long because Mr. Kooris will be giving the presentation. I think the Council is aware of the generation of this report. It's been being worked on for over a year now. I do want to point out that members of Council received this by email last night and by hard copy about 2 minutes ago, so there's not really going to be expectation of questions and answers tonight unless you guys are speed reading experts. So what we're trying to do tonight is to have a presentation and then come up with a schedule for moving forward after tonight's presentation. I just want to take a minute to thank the staff members who were involved. The mayor will talk about the volunteers that helped us, but it took a significant effort on the part of staff who were heavily involved, several of them, and they worked very hard on it. Jeff Coleman, Ed Lynch, Kathy Gillard, who was very instrumental in putting this last document together, this first document together, Kelly Johnson and Michelle Oliveris, and of course Deborah Newborn, who's our sustainability coordinator, worked very hard on this. And I just want to point out that reports like this sometimes require the hiring of consultants at significant cost to the city, and we were able to, with the help of our volunteers and our staff, avoid that cost and put together this vision document. It's basically a long-term vision that the Council will be looking at to consider, amend, approve, and actually consider over the years as we move forward. It's really a concept plan, and you folks will have the final decisions on anything that's implemented and done here, and the commitment of resources and staff time and things of that nature. So I'd like to have the mayor, who was involved in this significantly, to introduce the presenter and to talk a little bit about the process from the volunteers.
Sure. Well, I'll just add, Chuck acknowledged the work of the staff. This was guided very substantially by a Sustainability Advisory Board that the City Manager appointed, and they applied themselves with tremendous energy and dedication to the task. A number of them are here today, and I just wanted in this public context to thank them for their exceptional work. In terms of Mr. Kooris, he is the Hudson Valley and Connecticut Director of the Regional Plan Association. RPA is the oldest and among the best respected planning organizations in America. They're heavily involved in economic, environmental, and transportation policy issues. Mr. Kooris himself has been personally engaged in issues of municipal sustainability, policy making, and implementation. And we were very fortunate that he agreed to sit on Rochelle's Sustainability Advisory Board, and the board asked if he could represent them for the purpose of presenting this draft plan to the City Council for your consideration. And with that, I'll turn it over to Mr. Kooris.
Great. Thank you, Mayor. And we will be brief. As the Mayor said, we'll describe basically the structure of the plan, the overall content, the kind of overall direction, but not the specifics about individual initiatives. First, just to start with, what is sustainability? What's the premise that we're working on here? And it's, not just about environment. It's about long and short-term economic vibrancy. It's about the quality of the environment and health in our local community as well as in our globe. And it's about social equity, making sure that all stakeholders in the city have both a voice in the process as well as mutual benefit. So why adopt a sustainability plan? It's really about the pivot point between global challenges and local opportunities. How can we take some of the most significant challenges that we face in the coming decades and generations, resource depletion, climate change, and harness those, leverage those to achieve local benefit. And I think it's important to note that, while there are probably people in this room that either believe very strongly in climate change, are inconclusive about the effects or what the causes are, I think what's important here is that any action that we might take to limit carbon emissions and to reduce the amount of energy we use has all kinds of co-benefits. It has cost savings, it has air quality benefits to our local community, it has economic development benefits and job creation, and really those are all addressed within this plan. It deals with not just how to create and foster a green economy within the city, but also about how to plan for the future and plan for growth. The plan is built on the assumption that there'll be an additional 5,000 residents in the city. And there's not a value judgment necessarily instilled in that. Those are the projections that come from the county and from state and various regional agencies. And really taking that as an assumption, the premise of the plan was not to say whether or not we should, but rather how can we do so in a way that's most beneficial to our local neighborhoods and to our downtown. And of course, implicit and oftentimes explicit in all of this is improving quality of life and resulting in efficiency and cost savings for the residents and for the city. The plan includes, first and foremost, an assessment on where we are, current conditions, our baseline. Every new Rochelle resident emits 53 pounds of carbon dioxide a day, uses over 300,000 BTUs of energy, contributes 4 pounds of solid waste to our natural systems, and generates over 100 gallons of sewage. And this is really where we are today. It's where we're starting from. It's where we're building off of. And it gives us a sense not only of the goals and where we could and want to be headed, but also of the magnitude of effort necessary in different areas, in different sectors. And I think what's crucial in acknowledging here is the small role, the small piece of the pie, the emissions pie or the energy consumption pie that the city actually controls or is responsible for. But that's paralleled with the large role that the city can play in terms of leadership and in terms of influencing and incentivizing behavior through policy. So you can see there on the right in the chart that carbon dioxide emissions by sector across the city, when you add up municipal and school functions, it's only 3% of total. So 96% of the opportunities to reduce energy consumption, the opportunities to save costs in heating our homes and buildings and reduce our consumption of oil will take place outside of government. And a lot of the policies and initiatives embodied in here both utilize government's role to set an example and be a leader, but also to create those investments and the infrastructure and the incentives that foster more sustainable living and working within the community. In order to assess where we've been and the magnitude of the actions we're currently taking and will be taking, metrics are an important foundation of everything that we have in here. And there's a large section towards the end of the report called Numbers, which have all that quantitative information related to the various initiatives and to the baseline and to the trends. And I think it's important to note in terms of the current actions when looking at and assessing what city government is currently doing. A lot of the big ideas that we have for the future are not new, different, a change of policy, but rather a continuation of the good policies that are currently taking place, and in many cases build off of the existing policies moving forward.